This event was brought together by GRDC, the peak industry body for the grains industry in Australia, and SproutX. SproutX is a national accelerator and venture capital fund for early stage food and agtech companies. Each of the 5 startups you'll hear tonight will give a 4-minute pitch, followed by 2 minutes of Q&A. This pitch is targeted as a product demo and is very much focused towards a customer audience. SproutX is a national program investing in agtech entrepreneurs where they are, be that in cities or the regions, so that geography is no barrier to accessing our world-class mentorship and venture capital. We can't do what we do without the support from our mentors and industry partners who deeply know the challenges of this industry. SproutX is backed by Findex and has premier partnerships with Bayer and the GRDC. These partners support us both operationally, but more importantly, offer expertise, mentorship and guidance to the entrepreneurs. SproutX wouldn't be the accelerator that it is without venture capital, and for that we thank Artesian, who are behind the SproutX $10 million fund and have allowed us to invest in 30 startups. But tonight, grains are the star. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Chris Murphy, Commercialisation Manager of the GRDC, to open the event and introduce the first pitch.
Thanks, Julia, and thanks, Chris. The Grains Research and Development Corporation is pleased to be partnering with SproutX, and in particular supporting this Grains Agtech Showcase this evening. I think the partnership with SproutX is aimed at helping GRDC in solving some of the biggest challenges in the grains industry today. Ultimately, we're looking to source and fast-track new innovations that benefit Australian grain growers. So while this partnership with SproutX might be different to the way in which we have traditionally invested, that being through universities, state ag departments, CSIRO and other providers, the intent is still the same and the outcomes are still aligned to the corporation's strategic plan. So the current 5-year RD&E plan, starting in 2018, is part of a broader 10 to 20-year strategy to deliver on GRDC's purpose. And that purpose is quite clear. It's to invest in research, development and extension to create enduring profitability for Australian grain growers. The plan works to deliver results which maximise growers' long-term profitability, with investment strategies focused on 5 key profit drivers or objectives. And those are improving yield and yield stability, maintaining and improving price, optimising input costs, reducing post-farm gate costs and managing risk. For GRDC, we see this collaboration can assist in developing transformational value to growers and the broader industry. It's also about fast-tracking solutions. So in the agtech space, things like artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, digital information, remote sensing, as well as many other technologies are all being explored as tools to maximise profits. We also recognise that innovation in this space is increasingly being driven by agtech startups, both in Australia and abroad. So using these new technologies in applications across various industries is increasingly important. I thought I'd just touch on GRDC's initiatives in the innovation space. So in developing our strategy, we wanted to extend the range of organisations which we partner with. So through our Australian Grains Innovation Program, GRDC is supporting agtech startups and has launched 3 initiatives over the last 2 years. These include Growers as Innovators, the GRDC Accelerator Programs, and the Grain Innovate Venture Capital Fund. I'll touch on each of these initiatives briefly. So in terms of Growers as Innovators, first, we've acknowledged that Australian grain growers are experts in overcoming challenges and are by their very nature innovators. Growers often devise practical solutions and we want to encourage them to think about developing their ideas further. The main goal of Growers as Innovators is leveraging growers' expertise and ingenuity for the benefit of the whole grains industry. It's about building growers' capacity through innovation workshops and early stage incubation programs. To do this, GRDC is working collaboratively with other rural RDCs, research and development corporations, and with farmers to founders to deliver this series of grower-focused programs. The next initiative is the GRDC Accelerator Program, and it provides an opportunity for innovators and startups to take their ideas to the next level. The program is designed to support the placement of grain-focused innovations from growers, researchers, entrepreneurs and non-traditional innovators, all into the existing Australian Accelerator Network. and that's through accelerators such as SproutX, obviously. The aim is for participants to be well placed to attract further private equity investment from those looking to grow and transform the broader Australian grains industry. With SproutX, this collaboration has also seen 2 supported placements, both of which you'll be hearing from this evening, and they are Farmlab and Stratus Imaging. So the last initiative is Grain Innovate. So this is a $50 million venture capital fund, which was launched in early 2019 as a partnership between GRDC and Artesian, an Australian-based venture capital fund manager with international connections, and I'm sure you're aware of Artesian. A lot of people are aware of Artesian. The aim of the fund is to invest in scalable, high growth potential startups from Australia and overseas that are developing novel services and products that, again, as I mentioned, address grain-specific constraints. Grain Innovate offers an investment vehicle that enables GRDC to support startups. It should be noted that this was not easily done under our traditional investment model, and the fund's current portfolio has also attracted co-investment from other external investors. The reaction of the Australian Agtech community to the fund's launch has been very positive, so we're pleased with that. And this evening, in the presentations, there'll be 2 examples of Grain Innovate investments, those being Telesense and Farmlab. So in summary, I think from GRDC's perspective, startups are a growing source of innovation in agriculture. So our goal in the innovation space is to identify, fast track and invest in solutions focusing on grain industry priorities. We also want to see increased innovation through non-traditional partnerships. So I look forward to hearing in more detail how the 5 startups showcased in this evening's event are addressing our industry's priorities. So on that note, I'd like to introduce the first startup for the evening, who is also one of the recipients of the GRDC supported placement this year. Founder Sam Duncan will share how Farmlab soil management software is helping farms better manage their most valuable asset right under their feet, their soils. So over to you, Sam.
Excellent. All right, let's rock and roll. I'm Sam from Farmlab, and here to talk to you today about better soil management. So we've probably all heard this quote: a nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. And here in Australia, with the recent bushfires, COVID and impending climate change, this has never been so apparent and so timely. Fortunately, we're in good hands. Every farmer out there is a soil manager, and this is fantastic, right? Unfortunately, most farmers lack the tools that they need to manage soil. Most of this is due to soil information not being accessible, agronomists' recommendations not being communicated very well, and then trends and changes being really hard to sort of quantify, which is really a function of the first 2 there. So why is this the case? Well, soil sampling itself hasn't changed much since the 1900s. And neither is the fertilizer recommendation process. Quite often, soil samples are taken, they're sent to a lab, the farmer receives the recommendations from their agronomist or the lab itself, and then they're filed, and the results are lost forever. This is what Farmlab are changing. We're providing a soil management platform for farmers to give them a digital account for their soil, as well as giving agronomists an easier way to take and submit soil samples for testing. This is what it looks like. We basically map the soil test results to a paddock, and then we give the farmer and agronomist different layers to compare their soil test results to. This helps them pinpoint areas that might need improvement within a paddock, or strategic farm management ideas and different strategies. For the agronomists themselves, we provide a mobile app to help soil sample and navigate to those sample locations, and then submit those soil samples to one of our partner labs for testing, including EAL, APAL, or Agvita. We've already saved, in our case study, we saved Hamish, our farmer up here in New England, who's got a cattle cropping operation, about 20% on his inputs through our software. We also saved his agronomist, Milton, about 25% in sampling time. But most importantly, we increased the value of that farm asset. Hamish has used that data to start to improve some of those paddocks that he soil sampled on, as well as to take further sampling to analyze and engage that improvement. Pricing, look, we're cheaper than a Netflix subscription for the farmer. We provide, for $15 a month, we provide unlimited storage for historic and new soil test results, as well as the ability to upload and compare yield maps, CM38 surveys, and NDVI as well, if you have it. We're a small team of software specialists as well as passionate environmentalists. We work closely with the University of Sydney as part of the Soil Tech project, who have brought you some of the tools that you saw there today. We've got strong traction to date with farmers and agronomists, with over 250 using the platform, mapping over 250,000 hectares across Australia so far. But our goal is by 2025 to have over 100,000 farmers using the platform, and we want you to join us on that journey. So I'll end it there. A very big thank you to GRDC and SproutX for having me on stage. If you're after more information, please get in touch. We'll set you up with a demo and a free trial. Just reach out to me or one of the team, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So thanks very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. Keep the questions coming, folks, in the Q&A function. In the meantime, Sam, I'll ask you a quick question. So while we wait for some of those questions to come through, can you share how Farmlab can help grain producers when it comes to available soil water? Yeah, so we've been running a few trials with a few partners to develop available water capacity maps that can be used to inform and interpolate soil moisture probes that those farmers have on their farm. So one of the major challenges with soil moisture probes is you place it in the ground, and like a soil test, how do you know that the soil moisture is the same where you place the probe across the other side of the paddock, let alone farm? We provide, so our soil zone maps can be used to interpolate those results and to look at the variation in available water capacity across the farm. Great question there. Terrific, thanks, Sam. We've got a bit of a shy bunch, not many questions coming through, but if you do think of any, pop them in the Q&A, and we can always come back and answer them. So over to you, Jules.
Thanks, Chris. Our next two co-founders are an engineering duo whose startup is catching unseen enemies on the farm, even before symptoms appear on the crop. Please welcome Saron and Lewis of Bioscout.
G'day, I'm Lewis, CEO of Bioscout.
And I'm Saron, CEO of Bioscout. And we're really excited to be here today to talk about Bioscout's automated airborne disease tracking system. Bioscout's mission, first and foremost, is to ensure the biological safety and security of crops anywhere and at any time. With rising incidences of botanical epidemics such as Panama disease in bananas and rust in wheat, there's never been a more important and relevant time to develop technology to proactively manage these issues. Looking at the problem that Bioscout is solving for, in Australia, our farmers are losing on average 20% of crops to invisible diseases that spread through their farm fields. Despite the introduction of new disease-resistant cultivars and powerful chemicals, the big issue is that producers and agronomists still have to rely on weather and visual inspection to spot disease in the field. But as we all know, if you can see symptoms on the crop, it's probably too late to save. To account for this, calendar and blanket-based sprays are commonly used. However, this practice usually drives the cost of chemicals up. According to the GRDC, Australian farmers lose $95 per hectare to disease, while spending roughly $16 per hectare on fungicide sprays. Yearly, that's $360 spent on mainly preventative fungicides and $600 million in crop losses due to disease. And finally, grains producers and agronomists have no control feedback loop. Basically, they spray and pray that disease levels will decrease. However, with no insight into the efficacy of spray regimes, disease resistance increases. So it's clear that there's a mismatch between what we're spending on intervention and how effective these practices are.
And that's where we come in. The Bioscout system is a patented platform that uses data collected from our proprietary sensors to proactively alert growers and agronomists of the location, species, and severity of disease infestations. We place our sensors every 5 to 100 hectares and actively sample the air 24/7. If a pathogen is detected, we alert the producer of the impending crop infection so they can get the information as it happens. The analytics dashboard that we provide is available to view disease pressure across the entire farm, observe historic trends, and localized climatic data obtained from the devices. Our sensors capture airborne particles and funnel them through our device nozzle. Large particles like dust and some pollen are filtered out to ensure we're only capturing target pathogens. Once captured, we use automated microscopy and machine learning to match the captured pathogens with the diseases in our database. We combine this with our onboard weather sensor data to alert farmers about potential outbreaks before the disease even infects the crop. We're currently tracking 15 diseases spanning 6 broadacre and horticultural crops. Our grain disease models are being developed for net blotch and powdery mildew in barley, and Septoria triticide blotch and stripe rust in wheat. And this is what it looks like on farm. We've been operating on multiple commercial farms across Australia since March last year, testing and validating our product. It survives some of the harshest of environments that Australia has to offer, from tropical cyclones in North Queensland to 45-degree days in the Clare Valley.
Looking at a case study from one of our horticulture trials, in April 2019, we installed 2 devices on a New South Wales blueberry farm during the pre-flowering stage. This particular grower sprays about 14 times per season at roughly $12,000 per spray. And they were interested in using the Bioscout system to improve yield and quality in disease hotspots that were known to them on the farm. So to track disease activity in these areas, we installed one device at the top of a ridge on the property and another device at the base of the ridge. We typically collect baseline data in the pre-season phase to determine what the endemic levels of spore are on the farm. You can see in these images some examples of spores that we have detected at very low levels during the 4-week baseline period. Following the baseline period, as the blueberries began to bloom, the Bioscout system picked up an increase in a spore we were able to identify as Botrytis cinerea. And over the weeks that followed, we noticed a 3 to 5 times increase in Botrytis. But the grower did not see any symptoms on the crop and decided not to spray. About 4 weeks later, there was a massive outbreak of Botrytis in the field that we were monitoring. We compared the impact of disease load on berry quality, and there was a stark difference in berry size and quality. Unfortunately, at the end of the season, the grower estimated that they lost about 30% of their yield, mainly due to this outbreak.
So the potential impact of our system on both the farm and nationally is huge. On farm, we continue to show that the data we provide is improving fungicide usage through better timed prophylactic sprays and improvements in crop quality through the reduction in disease impact. And as we continue to grow, we're establishing a nationwide disease monitoring system. In the future, our system can help contain exotic diseases while reducing the potential for chemical resistance in Australia. We're really excited about changing the way Australian farms manage disease. If you're a wheat, barley or canola producer and you'd like to know more about Bioscout and what we're doing and how we can help you, head to this link or scan the QR code. Or if you want, just give me a call. Thanks.
Thank you, Saron and Lewis. It'd be interesting to hear a little bit about who Bioscout currently collaborates with. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. We're collaborating with a bunch of different farmers, RDCs and industry bodies across Australia, from North Queensland right down to South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales. And one of our main kind of flagship projects is working with the IMAP Pest project, where multiple RDCs are working on enabling farmers to better monitor disease across barley and canola. So we launched that project last year with them at the Hartfield site in South Australia, where we've been monitoring our net blotch in barley. So this is supported by the GRDC and is, I think, a fantastic example of how startups and RDCs and farmers can work in collaboration. It's allowed us to pick up a lot more diseases more accurately and also kind of translate our research from being in the lab to getting out and being a great outcome for industry.
Great, thank you. We've got a question. Fernando Falquar has sent in a question. Great pitch, by the way, so that's nice. How confident are you at generating meaningful data for broadacre cropping with one detection point for every 20 to 100 hectares?
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good question and something we're hoping to answer when it comes with the IMAP Pest project. So spores can travel really far. We know in examples for like stripe rust, they can travel hundreds of kilometers across fields, across state borders. And so looking at kind of balancing kind of the large scale deployment of, let's say, 100 sensors across a wheat belt, we are working out exactly how far our sensors can actually pick up these spores, and also working on using kind of an array of sensors to triangulate where these diseases are coming from, so you can kind of fence off where these diseases could be coming from. And once you get this kind of scale of hundreds of devices, say across a state, then you can start working on prediction and looking at if it's affecting one region, what's the likelihood of it affecting somewhere else. So yeah, a combination of the scale and prediction.
Terrific. I've got another question here from Nikki Marks. Could Bioscout be used to manage CSG company access to grain properties in Queensland?
I'm imagining that is a gas question. So we don't work in the kind of chromatography kind of space. It's more to do with the organics.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably not.
Our next team is tackling a different kind of problem on farm. So timing is everything when it comes to cash flow and financing, and can make or break an opportunity for time-sensitive purchases, equipment repairs, or for a manager to seize upon an opportunity that could improve the farm business. That's why we've brought Agtuary along today to tell you about how they're bridging the gap between farmers and financial institutions. They're building user-friendly tools, creating better trust, transparency, and quicker timelines to yes from your bank. Over to Angus.
Thanks, Jules. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. Like Jules said, my name's Angus. I'm the CEO of Agtuary, where we're helping to simplify the management of your financial and business records. So does managing your business or financial records look a little bit like this? Or maybe talking to your accountant or talking to your banker have this kind of effect? Or when it comes to organizing your financial compliance, maybe there's just somewhere else you'd rather be. I kind of get that feeling too. And this is why we built Agtuary. It's a secure digital vault to electronically store all of your important business and financial information. Agtuary stays on top of your data so that you don't have to. We store everything from your real-time P&L to your company registration documents and shareholder structure. Everything that you need to manage your financial and compliance requirements. We also give you the ability to keep everyone on your team up to date with what's happening on farm. Connect with your accountant to organize this season's financial forecasts. Connect with your banker to update plans when applying for a new loan, and ensure that your compliance is fast, simple, and pain-free, removing the errors and the need for any time-consuming back and forth. We also keep your accountant happy and integrate with your bookkeeping software so that all your expenses are automatically kept up to date and you never have to manually enter financial data. This allows you to stay on top of what's happening now by giving you a better real-time overview of your finances. In our dashboard, we give you a real-time statement of position so that you can keep on top of your financials at a glance. And we also give you the ability to view how you're tracking against your plans and budgets, comparing your real results with your forecast performance. These capabilities are designed to save you time, especially when it comes to your financial responsibilities. We help you deal without the back and forth when applying for financing or staying compliant with existing loans. And we assist you in getting better rates by ensuring that your information is accurate, up to date, and complete when applying for new loans or insurance, where we know that this can lead to better rates. And we also allow you to easily export your information to either your broker or your banker for rapid turnaround and worry-free finance. Ultimately, we want to automatically help to review your finance and how your business is performing, and to let you know when there's a better rate available with a different institution, so that you can always have the best rate available, and potentially saving thousands of dollars on any loans that you might have. And we want to give this for just $25 a month with unlimited use to export, report, and share with your business advisors or colleagues. We've just launched our beta program, and we're looking for farms to join us who are keen to remove the stress from managing their financial compliance. Or if you're an accountant or broker in the ag lending space, we'd love to talk to you about how you can help improve your own service to your clients. Additionally, we are doing some extra work in the agribusiness supply chain around farm communication. So please reach out if you're in that sector as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Angus. A great presentation. So one of the big questions I'm sure you get asked a fair bit is going to be around data privacy, particularly when it comes to a farm's financial position. So what would you say to growers who are concerned about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's obviously a big question that comes up, and this is something this is a particular area that we take very, very seriously. So, when it comes to the information that's stored on our platform, we take no position that allows us like ownership or allows us to redistribute that info. So everything that you put on the platform is owned by the farmer, and we don't have the right to move that on or sell that on or anything like that. Any communication that comes with any external parties, like your banker or your broker, that's always an action that's initiated by the farmer or the user of the platform.
Great, that's helpful. And over the years, everyone's seen Xero and MyOb, burst onto the scene with their accounting software. So interested to understand how your platform differs from growers who might be using those accounting platforms already.
Yeah, absolutely. So Xero, I mean, we work hand in hand with Xero on this aspect. Like Xero is great for like reconciling what's coming in and out of your bank account, but it doesn't really capture the full picture of what's happening on farm. It's very useful for your accountant. But what we do is we take some of those feeds from Xero and we give you an overview of what's happening. Like give you a very nice visual way to see how your business is tracking. On top of that, when it comes to the communication with, for instance, your bank, they're much more interested in things like your BAS statements or your annual tax returns, and so that's the kind of information that we work with there.
Our next pitcher is Marcus Kennedy. He was previously an executive at GrainCorp, and in his role as the Global Chief Development Officer was pivotal in establishing their Agtech innovation strategy and investment strategy. He's now crossed over to the other side into startup world, and he's leading the Australian expansion of US startup Telesense since 2019. With a bumper grain crops expected this year, Telesense's suite of tools for monitoring grain storage is sure to be one to watch. Please welcome Marcus.
Thank you, Julia. Marcus Kennedy, looking after Telesense in Australia, and really pleased to be with you this evening. At Telesense, we're using ag tech and data science really to develop improved ways of managing your grain in storage, better ways of really understanding how to handle that grain along all parts of the value chain. Our vision is really to maximise the value of your stored agri product, in particular grain in this case. Traditionally, methods of collecting data and information have been manual and expensive. Data has been patchily collected, decisions have been made on gut feel, and we really only right less than 50% of the time. Telesense has already introduced continuous data supply and automated that collection. We're using artificial intelligence and data science, and we believe we've got about an 80% accuracy already. The future, though, is really artificial intelligence and data decisions that are going to be predictive, going to give you insights and recommend actions to take. And in a timely manner, this will improve accuracy to over 95%. So better storage, grain management. We all know that really that grain, as soon as it goes into storage, deteriorates in quality. Storage conditions are generally very suboptimal, particularly here in Australia with high temperatures. Moisture and heat concentrate. We get infestation, molds, potential loss of germination, and even in the worst case, obviously explosion and fires. This causes great loss of value from spoilage and shrinkage. In particular, you may well get hundreds of dollars per tonne losses in grade reduction and even complete loss. It's expensive to monitor grain manually, and safety can be a key issue for people. This season, we're expecting a bumper crop, and we're expecting that a lot more grain will need to be stored for a lot longer. In addition, with the increased on-farm storage capacity on both sides of the continent, it's more urgent than ever that we detect these problems early and don't get the situations that we can see in those pictures on the right-hand side. So Telesense's solution is really a remote wireless cable-free management approach to monitoring your grain. It works in all crop types and all geographies to provide insights and recommendations around actions for you to take. It's embedded in the grain. Our sensors are embedded in the grain, unlike other previous opportunities. It provides real-time continuous data. It's easy to install, very portable. You can move it from, say, one facility to another. And we have an affordable monthly pricing mechanism that makes it easy to understand. So 4 key benefits: quality of preservation and spoilage reduction, operational efficiency in time and labour savings, energy savings from not having to automate, not having to use heating and drying as much, but also more efficiently, and of course, improved worker safety. In terms of use cases, grain spoils in all types of facilities: silos, bunkers, piles, and bags. And we know in Australia that it often gets to the state of where those couple of pictures there in terms of wheat and the bottom canola look like in terms of infestation or mould or sprouted grain. It occurs in bunkers as well as vertical silos, depending on temperature and moisture variations. And we want to get, particularly this season, as we said, with a large grain harvest coming and that on-farm storage will be filled to capacity, we want to get in early and detect hotspots and moisture to prevent losses and mould and infestation and fires, of course. Our product is really a very simple product. It's a family of sensors that really sit in, as we said, in vertical bins, bunkers, and or silo bags across your farm or your facility as a grain handler. We collect and monitor the data in the Telesense cloud. We provide that data along with insights, service recommendations, actions via a very simple app to your smartphone, your tablet, or your laptop. Just a couple of examples tonight of our equipment at the moment. Firstly, the sensor spear. It's effectively a 1 or 2 metre versions of the spear. They have about 6 sensors in most of the spears. Battery life's 2 to 4 years. As I said, very easy to install, designed for use across a range of storage locations, and robust and built very hard quality to withstand 1500 kg pressure. The sensor ball, much smaller of course, sits in your hand, or you can hold it in your hand, comes with a retractable wire and an antenna that may sit outside the storage facility. It has a 4-year battery life as well, designed to be food safe and can withstand the same 1500 K pressure. So it can be mounted very easily on the inside of a silo, as we see here in the stainless steel silo example. But equally can be put on a silo bag, as is this case, which has a spear in it, but can equally be a ball. The software is displayed by the Telesense app, and it's an enterprise view. You can see all your facilities, all your sensors at one glance. It's color-coded to detect a red, orange, green problem and alert, and every alert will come to you to give you warning either by SMX or an email in addition to the app. Additionally, the user interface has been continually upgraded every month. We now have a 3-dimensional display in addition to the 2-dimensional display you can see there. So you can actually rotate that 3D visual to see where the hotspot potentially could be. In particular, you can see the location of all your sensors and all your spears. So far, we've had good traction with major grain companies around the world, co-ops and dealers, and in particular, growers and seed growers also. We have over 400 customers at this point in time. Just one example I'd share with you in terms of the impact that we've had so far. This was an example of a circular, a bunker, a pile, if you like, in America, in ADM's facility at Attica in Indiana. There was a hotspot detected here. We couldn't obviously unwrap the tarp at that point in time, but it helped to indicate where the problem was and how the order of the outloading, and ADM believe it saved them over $3 million in this instance in terms of making decisions, what to upload first and how to blend that to optimize that grain quality coming out. Additionally, we're already in other storage locations, as I said, in bunkers and piles and vertical silos, but also in hay, particularly in the US. And that's obviously a key market opportunity for Australian growers as well, but also in transit along other parts of the supply chain, in barges down river systems in the US particularly, but also, as per the Australian example, in grain storage in trains. We're ready to go. Been working in Australia for the last little while and looking to talk to growers with on-farm storage, trying to get prepared and looking after the quality of their grain in storage for this big season. Grain handlers, the bulk handlers, the manufacturing manufacturers of grain storage facilities, the distributors and retail merchandisers. But in addition to that, we're also looking for research partners to continue to develop the technology, to continue to develop the artificial intelligence investment and enhance the apps and the algorithms for Australian conditions. Thank you for listening, and in particular, thank you to GRDC and SproutX for hosting this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus. Love the pictures of the product, and you know, you've got terrific traction, over 400 customers, and one of the customers you highlighted there was one in Indiana. I would love to hear a little bit more about who's using Telesense in Australia and how they're using it to add value to their business.
Thanks, Chris, for the question. I think in Australia, we've been here probably a couple of seasons now, 2 or 3 seasons, working with all the major grain handling companies, both on the East Coast and the West Coast. And traditionally, we've got trials and pilots that we've been working with them in canola and in wheat in particular, some barley as well, but they span probably Queensland, Victoria, upcountry, upstate. We've got a couple of pilots going in bunkers, and then in Western Australia as well in bunkers, as well as a vertical silo pilot as well. In terms of the value, just to finish that, Chris, I think we're also just starting a couple of engagements with growers, one in Northern Victoria that's really just starting to commence now. In terms of value, there's different ways to look at the value. I think, as we said in the beginning, the avoidance of spoilage, the operational efficiency, the saving of time, if you like, the energy cost saving, all add up to an estimate of, let's say, $5 to $10 a tonne, vis-a-vis a cost of less than, say, $1 to $2 a tonne in most cases, or even less in larger installations. But in addition to that, the value is protecting the quality of the grain from major downgrades, major multiple $100 tonne downgrades, or in the avoidance of fires and catastrophes and a total loss situation. So effectively, it's an insurance policy of sorts, but there is real tangible value that we can get from monitoring your grain proactively and understanding, in particular, the predictive nature of the software that allows you to take action before the problem occurs.
Terrific. Thanks, Marcus. We have a question that's come through. How do the detection devices communicate to transfer data, i.e. do they use Wi-Fi, mobile, satellite data, and how far from the base can they be?
They can be from the base. Not all the devices, not all the technologies have to need a base station. Some of the technology that we have available at the moment is cellular. So each spear, if you like, each one of those sensor spears connects and communicates directly using the cellular network to the Telesense cloud. So there's no need for a base station if we use that technology. Some of the older technologies, if the cellular network is not so good, do require a base station or a gateway, and we can install that. For example, we've installed a couple on sample stands with a couple of the trials that I mentioned previously. They can be several hundred meters from the base station. So you might have a series of bunkers at a particular operational site or grain handling site. We could have 7, 9, 15 sensors in one particular bunker. They would mesh together and then they communicate to the base station, which can be several hundred meters away. And that might communicate either through an Ethernet or a cellular network itself.
So in the long distance transport example, does that mean you would need satellite comms?
Those examples that I showed there on the barges and the rail all use the cellular network.
Okay. And just in terms of humidity and temperature, what are the sensors that are best suited for, to measure humidity and temperature in the grain?
Well, all our sensors measure
they will do it,
the temperature.
Our last team joins us from Western Australia. Stratus Imaging have set themselves apart, particularly over the last 12 months in the spatial and data analytics sector for agri, and are at a really exciting point in their startup expansion journey. So in the last 12 months, since John and Andrew, the co-founders, were with SproutX, they've grown their footprint across Australia and are very close to launching services in Indonesia and New Zealand. In this same period, they've also attracted the exclusive distribution rights in Australia for Israeli imagery company Stratus. They're really one to watch, and I'm excited for you to hear from them to close out tonight's event. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Jules. And yeah, good evening, everyone. And my name is Jonathan Smith, co-founder of Stratus Imaging, a spatial data acquisition company, an analytics company. Big data may not sound exciting, could sound confusing, complicated, or even scary to some. So when you're at your most thoughtful, you may have some of these questions going through your mind. Why am I wanting this data? And do I actually need it? So many sources of the same data. Which one do I choose? Is all the spatial data the same? And it takes too long to get the data. But probably the most important and commonly asked question is, how do I make actionable decisions on the data? That's probably the biggest question. As Jules mentioned, we're the Australasian partner of Tyrannus, and I'd like to introduce you to this powerful product offering, where we capture the data, do the analysis, and provide the detail for informed decisions to be made and ultimately implemented on farm. By using multiple data acquisition platforms, we're able to provide solutions to all growers. But how much more, though, could be gained by introducing AI2, a sub-millimetre imagery? As the only Australian company to deliver this level of detail, we're able to detect weeds, nutrient deficiencies, diseases, insects, and on certain crop types, emergence counts, all of which provide a greater level of information for management decisions never seen before. So how do they work together? Satellites provide a whole farm perspective at a level of detail for monitoring change over time. UHR gives us a detailed overview of individual paddocks at a specific time. And AI2, the power is in the data and image resolution, all of which are visualized through an online platform that also allows for growers' current soil and yield data to be uploaded. You might still be skeptical. So let us have a look over the next few slides at an example of the insights achieved on wheat here in Western Australia. In this example, we're looking for common weeds in wheat, ryegrass and wild oats. It was over a 50-hectare paddock. Typically, an agronomist would scout 4 to 10 areas across this paddock, whereas we have scouted and analysed 80 different locations, and worldwide can detect over 300 different species of weeds. In the same flight, we also detect the symptoms of nutrient deficiencies. We found around 20 of the images in total showed a deficiency in either nitrogen or potassium, all of which were confirmed by their agronomist. However, we do not know what has caused a deficiency or the level of deficiency, but provide the information as to where to exactly scout. Again, over the 80 locations across the paddock, we were able to detect various diseases. And here we are showing Septoria leaf blotch, which was ground truthed and confirmed by their agronomist, all due to the precise resolution at leaf level. The fourth insight is insects. And if, like our grower in Horsham, it is important to detect insects or the damage caused by them at the earliest possible stage. From this insight, and after having success this year with the previous 3 insights, and in consultation with his agronomist, he is committed to using this technology on 1,000 hectares next year to ensure that the same loss this year from insect damage over a 100-hectare paddock of $140,000 does not happen again. These examples shown, as I mentioned, were a 50-hectare paddock, scouted in just 30 minutes, and with results typically delivered within 24 hours. So what do I do with this information? As I said, in consultation with your agronomist, like in Horsham, this data allows you to create your performance zones and prescription maps, all ready for implementation based on your machinery's capabilities. With a simple click from the platform to My John Deere, SST, or desktop in the format required. And by having this level of detail, we minimize the decision risks, we save time and increase profits. Efficiency is the key. And to help with covering your farm, we have 8 strategic bases located around Australia. And for you to decide, is there value for me? Can I use this? Let me introduce you to these amazing partners and clients that we work alongside to deliver insightful data to our growers. And not only do we provide this level of detailed analysis, but as a licensed pest management company, we do aerial applications from a drone for small targeted areas and blanket operations in those hard to reach locations or where loss of yield due to crop compaction is a concern. Ensuring the efficiency of this operation, my fellow co-founder Andrew is one of only a handful of UAV pilots in Australia and the only one in WA licensed to operate a swarm of up to 5 at any one time. So I'd like to thank everyone for your attention, SproutX and GRDC for sponsoring and supporting us. And if you're looking for more certainty around your decision making and believe farmers deserve the best crops, please reach out to us after about how we can help you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Those images are really incredible that are taken from the drones, and the attendees tonight might represent a wide variety of different crop types. So keen to understand, are you able to share what the varieties of crop that Stratus imaging are best suited for?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Chris. And as we've shown that wheat is one of the major crop types that we do, we also work with barley, oats, canola, lupins, sorghum, faba beans, soybean, corn and maize. And if you've got connections or you may also have other different types of crops, we also cover sugarcane, horticulture and viticulture where this same technology can be used.
Yeah, terrific. And what are some of the key milestones you're looking to reach over the next 12 to 24 months with the product? What are some of the things that people can get excited about?
So we're really excited about this technology. And as was mentioned by Julia, we have expanded this technology out into Indonesia, and we are also looking at expanding this same technology into New Zealand. And over the next 24 months, we're wanting to gain more clientele across Australia. We're wanting to have more strategic locations and being able to deliver this service to maximise the efficiency of our growers and maintain the sustainability of agriculture here.
Yeah, terrific. Thanks, John. Okay, Julia.
Cool. Before we leave, John, can you stay with us, John? I'd just like to invite Sam from Farmlab back and just have a question closing out to you both. First, just throwing this to Sam, because I know that soil carbon is a passion topic of yours. Sam, could you just talk a bit about the cost benefit that you're able to realise for farmers from what you've seen in your trials so far?
Yeah, really good question, Jules. So I think soil carbon is a bit of a hot topic at the moment. You know, measuring it and managing it is super important, especially in cropping systems where, you know, 0.5% of carbon or a loss of 0.5% of carbon results in up to a loss of something like 524 kilos of nitrogen per hectare, right? So super critical. And measuring it is also really important as well, because by measuring it, you can better baseline it and better understand the changes and target areas for improvement. So, you know, we're working on bringing the cost down, similar to the available water capacity work we're doing to identify and map available water capacity. By identifying soil types within a paddock, we can help to determine the variability of carbon, where you might be losing it and where you might be gaining it, and do so relatively cheaply with for simply the cost of a few soil tests as well. I'll hand back over to John, you know, particularly or you, Jules, from a remotely sensed data side, because I think we share a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, perhaps. Well, I think I was interested to hear you answer that, because I know that whilst good soil management is good business, period, the gains can be a bit more long-term over many seasons, where John, in your dealings with customers, you tend to have the benefit of being able to really demonstrate those gains in implementing your management from season to season. Can you tell us a bit more about some of those good news stories where it goes right, and what are the really critical things to be monitoring for to make a big difference?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I outlined through the presentation, with our grower in Horsham, they saw the benefits directly of those insights being able to be delivered, and have committed to not just doing the 100, 200 hectares that they did throughout this year, but now they're going to commit to a minimum of 1,000 hectares to make these decisions as they see the benefit, the saving of time, and also the profit that they're going to maintain. In regards to carbon, we have done quite a bit of work this season and this year with a carbon company who put out liquid carbon and also pellet carbon. And through our imagery throughout the year, we've been able to see the distinct lines between the treatments of those carbon, which has been really exciting for the grower to determine how that is going to end up with the yields at the end of the season. And everything is looking very good, and that the results from those images and also from what they've seen on the actual crop itself is showing that the yield is going to be about 20 to 30% higher than without those carbon results.
It's amazing, John. I feel like collaboration coming on here.
In a quick answer from both of you, it sounds so great. Why aren't more people doing it?
Awareness, I think, and cost. There is a significant cost to improving soil carbon, and usually it requires a significant management practice change. I think we'll see more of it, particularly as a younger generation of farmers get into ag, and we start, employing technology a bit more to be a bit more efficient, I guess, to make things even more efficient. Your thoughts on that, John?
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's been a lot of, this is what we've always done in the past, the ability to change and have confidence in the change of new technology, and being reliant upon technology rather than actually being there on the ground, physically looking at it, as traditionally has happened, I think has held back a lot of people. But I do see that now starting to change as people understand that technology can help and save them the time and be more efficient.
Yeah, it's all about communicating those good news stories. Thank you to you both, and congratulations as well. Thanks. We hope you enjoyed the 5 pitches. If you liked something that you heard or have a referral that could support the growth of one of these companies, please follow the link in the comment section to a landing page where you will find all the contact details for each founder. Thanks again for the GRDC and to SproutX, and thank you for supporting Australian food and ag tech.